Pain is something that we are always going to experience no matter what. It's inescapable. There is a theme in Buddhism that talks about pain being life. Buddhism talks about dukkha. Pain is living, is life. To live is to suffer. So in everything that we experience, there's always going to be pain. And on the other side of that is pleasure. They are inseparable. So I feel oftentimes we are apt to chase, or more prone to chasing pleasure, thinking that that's what life is about rather than pain, and it's about escaping the pain. The truth of the matter is, pain is actually what is going to lead us to the most pleasure. And as crazy as that sounds, let me explain. I am not, what is it, sadistic, masochistic, whatever those, it's not that, okay? I have come to realize that discipline, in having that structure of loving yourself enough to stick with the pain even when it's hard, even when the challenges seem like maybe there's no way to overcome it. It's sticking with this pain and choosing to suffer in those ways that are responsible, in those ways that draw from a place of belief in ourselves and faith that our works will bring us to the other side and allow us to come out stronger, more gratified, more intelligent, more changed. It is in that pain that we have that growth. And when it comes to emotional pain as well, this one I feel people run from more often than the physical pain. So people will work out more often than they will sit with the emotional pain. People are more apt to run or to ingest things that distract them from the pain, like alcohol, marijuana, any other substances that are going to take you away from your power, your purity of consciousness. These are all our attempts to escape pain. And I think that it's misplaced because oftentimes we think that the goal is pleasure. However, when we reframe and realize that there is pleasure to be found in the moments where there is pain, if we can understand that it's such an important part of our journey and have gratitude, be able to foster gratitude in those times where you're shaking and you feel like you're about to break, that is where the growth happens. And when it comes to emotions, because we cannot see them and we cannot see the physical process and progress that happens compared to something, say, like working out, where you'll see progress over the span of a few weeks, so it's a bit easier. We have to check in with ourselves and understand that pain does not mean something is bad. There are many times that we are being triggered by something and our body is trying to tell us, there's information here, I need you to pay attention to it. Emotionally, I need you to pay attention to it. And that pain carries a message. So instead of running from it or trying to numb it in all of these ways, we have to actually sit with the pain and ask, what have you come to teach me? What am I learning right now? What does this feel like that I have experienced before? Because there's so much information there. When we quiet it and we repress our emotions, they find their escape in very deviant ways, in ways that are going to actually end up causing us more pain than the pain we tried to avoid in the first place. So I always tell my clients that it's similar to a bullet, getting shot by a bullet. And you get shot, the wound is in there, or the bullet is in the wound, and you can, on one hand, have a tendency to say, oh my God, that hurt so much, I don't want to mess with that anymore. I just want to leave it. However, that short-term fix of I'm just going to ignore it, not pay attention to it, causes so many other problems, because now it starts to get infected. Now other things might start to fester in it. It bubbles up, it starts to expand, it causes more issues. When on the other hand, we have the power to lean into the pain when it comes in that moment and actually assess and extract the bullet from the wound, which leaves us with a clean hole, clean wound, and then after that initial pain is over, to apply healing to it, to apply consciousness to the emotional wound, the emotional pain, and understand how we need to show up for ourselves with grace and what tools we need to actually heal that. So it's so important that we do not numb and we do not run when we sit in these places of emotional pain. And also to remember, in the current state of society that is pushing things like Ozempic and encouraging you to take shortcuts to everything, I want you to understand that these shortcuts lead to very bad places. And the reason is because they defy nature. They're defying the biological systems that exist. And this also exists for the brain and cognition and our own psychological programs. If we don't move in accordance with the natural law, we will be punished. So it doesn't matter what religion you have, what belief, there are natural laws that apply here that if we are not adhering to, we will be physically, spiritually, emotionally punished. And that causes suffering that we really do not have to experience. So I think there is always good pain and there is bad pain. And when it comes to the emotional pain as well, we have to remember that if we are feeling pain, it's because our heart is working. Our heart is receptive to what's happening, whether that be just with ourselves or the situations in the world. If you feel it, your heart is working. All of this is feeling. The plants feel, the animals feel. Just because they don't have the voices to tell you that they feel these things, the ability to articulate, doesn't mean that they do not feel. It is so apparent in experiments that have been done with, let's just say, plants. When plants hear a certain music, when they hear bad, broken music, not house music, what is it called? EDM, the sorts of noises that are more like broken sounds than symphonies or well-rounded orchestras, have caused these plants to lessen their growth. And then when they're played things like classical music or loving, healing music, these plants flourish. So the base of all of these living beings, what common denominator do we have, right? It's structure, it's atomic structure. We're all made of atoms and carbon, water. So the way that we are affecting these things biologically is going to affect how we actually shape ourselves, our mind, our flesh, all of it. You can tell when you're walking down the street, can you tell whose mind is positive versus whose is negative? Just based off of their mannerisms, based off of the way they hold their face, especially because I'm an artist, I pay a lot of attention to people's faces. And they tell the most beautiful stories. You can tell through someone's eyes, their soul. You can tell through the lines on their faces. Have they been a happy person through their life? Have they been angry? You can tell, especially with older age, your face will show you the type of life that you lived. And it's not in accordance to money. It's how you decide to process your pain. Is it something that you grip so tightly to and want to control and just get rid of that it becomes a burden to you that you cannot release, and therefore your face is always heavy and reflective of that? Or is it something you allow to visit you for a moment, feel it, release it, and then inhale the lightness of the lesson? We always have the choice to transmute the pain or allow it to become a heavy burden, constrain us, and show up as physical stress in the body, tension in the shoulders, the back, the knees, the legs, cancers. These energies influence illnesses in our body, stress, cortisol. It's biological. So many people, it's very interesting because so many people discount spirituality and indigenous wisdom when scientific study, as much as I promise you I adore biology because it studies these things and it picks things apart and it tells me, okay, I can say this works functionally this way, and I now understand the building blocks of X, Y, and Z in this portion of life. That is so beautiful to me. And at the same time, I understand that science is always watching life. Science comes after life to observe and to prove and to say this is tied to that. However, life is the model. Life is the ultimate teacher. So we have to listen. And when these hard or difficult emotions come up, we have to process them. It's only through processing them that we actually feel better. So any sense of running or numbing or escapism is only going to make things worse for us, because it's the same thing. A good example I said earlier is Ozempic. The way that you can inject something into your body, they say will make you lose, I don't know what the promises are, things like 15% body fat in 6 months or something. No idea, don't quote me on that. Something like that. And you have this promise of basically get thin quick scheme like this. However, you're not doing what it requires by natural law to have that happen. So due to that, you're going to disrupt the biological system, and there are going to be much more negative effects rather than if you were to simply have the discipline with yourself, the patience with yourself to go slowly, because roots take time to dig deep and to plant themselves. We are the same as that. Our cellular structure, all the cleansing in our body, all of the rebuilding, it takes time. It takes days for muscles to repair. It takes months, weeks, years for people to see physical differences in their body. For the body to heal from illness, from imbalance, it takes time. So the repercussions of things like Ozempic, if they tell you you're going to lose, say, however much in however short of a period, you have to have further questions, right? Because what is that weight loss coming from? And a lot of these people are losing their bone density, their muscle mass. It's not just fat. So what does that mean when you lose your bone density and your muscle mass? Because you took a shortcut somewhere and you saw the general promise, a blanket statement, and thought, oh, that sounds good. But you didn't really understand the repercussions of not building with a strong foundation, even though it seemed painful. Taking the shortcut and saying, no, I'll just take a shot, rather than building a strong foundation, causes you to lose so much more. That to me truly is suffering. The pain that it takes to build a strong foundation is a trade. It's a sacrifice for the abundance and the skill and the knowledge and just the love of life. However, when we take these shortcuts, we end up paying with our long-term joy. Because without your bones being strong And without your muscles being there to hold you up and support your body, you lose your autonomy. And when you lose bone, that is extremely hard to regenerate. It's possible, extremely hard. And there are very few people who really understand the depth of what that takes to regenerate bone. And many people will tell you also that it is not possible. So there's so much that goes into it. It's important to honor our pain when it comes, and to remember that it's not about taking a shortcut. Life is slow. It takes 9 months for a child to form in the womb. Even after that child has formed for those 9 months and taken so much from the mother, that child still has to go through the pain and the stress of being born, of being pressurized so much through the womb, through the vagina, bam, born, birth. Who else is suffering? The mother is suffering through that. So even in birth, in life, in death, there is pain. There is pain. That's part of it. And when we are able to take that pain with more gratitude and take that pain with full understanding that this is working in my favor, I'm headed toward my dream, I'm headed toward my goal, and I know because I can feel it. I feel myself getting stronger. When you change your perception of the pain and you enjoy the journey and you understand that you are laying that foundation, you appreciate it so much more, and you're able to now discern between things that appear as if they would be good for you and the things that actually are. Because it takes discipline and it takes discernment for you to be able to get to the pinnacle of who you were sent here to be. And I want that for everyone. We're all here to fulfill our purposes. So remember that when pain comes to you, it is not a burden. It is information. Allow yourself to process it. Write it out. Ask questions of where it is coming from, why it's here, and what you are learning. That makes it easier. And once you have that goal in mind and you see, okay, this is definitely the lesson I'm learning right now, let me focus, let me lock in on it. It makes it immensely easier because our brains need targets to focus. So I really hope any pain you're dealing with right now, this helped you reframe it a little bit. As always, I love you all, and